Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening today. Today is the 25th of July, year for Lord 2020-25. Welcome to yet another edition of the Gulping Hour. Hosted by Nicholas Single, a.k.a. Motanoa. Just got done watching a Hope Solo documentary on Netflix. Very informative. I kind of want to talk about that at the end of the episode. I don't want to start by talking about Hope Solo. I did actually just start right before I was taping the show. I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts, and you guys been seeing this new ad campaign that American Eagle's running with Sydney Sweeney? You guys been seeing this? You've seen this? You heard about this? I haven't seen any of the commercials. This is all I've been reading about. Reading about this, but it's been interesting. It's been interesting to follow. It's been interesting to monitor. Again, I'm just reading about this. I haven't seen any of the commercials yet, but from what I've seen. And the other reason I'm bringing this up, by the way, because we've covered in the past some of the Squatch commercials that she does and how they're just so unbelievably horny, like way too horny for YouTube Shorts. Like this is like Vine style content, and it's just her in a bubble bath, and she's like, "You dirty boy, you need a stick of deodorant." And I love the pitch of the idea of you just put her in a bath and people will, doesn't even matter what the product is. What does that say about me that I can tell you what the product is? Because it's okay, so where am I going with this? Well, I don't know. It's just an interesting marketing idea. American Eagle kind of hasn't been, I don't know what the reach of American Eagle is. Does anybody outside of the States wear it? I genuinely have no idea. I wore a lot of American Eagle in high school. It's really big in like late middle school, like high school years for me, which was 10 plus years ago. And so, so they're trying to make a comeback. And so they're like, what if we got Sydney Sweeney to do a bunch of commercials for us? Well, they did. They have done that. Again, I haven't seen any of these. I've just been reading about them in NPR. Yep, I've been reading a lot of NPR articles lately, and they just keep talking about these commercials. Like I've seen like 15 articles about this. I read them every single time. And there's the one where she's talking, but she's wearing like a denim jacket. And I mean, hey, you know how she is. And so it's sort of, and I'm not commenting on a woman's body here. It's sort of just observing it as like a phenomenon of like nature, right? So I'm sort of like it's like David Attenborough, I think is kind of what it is. Oh, there's probably a little bit in there actually. So David Attenborough narrating Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition of Sydney Sweeney. And hey, there's a bit in here. There's such a good bit in here, and I'm not going to be able to get through it. I don't know. The commercial is what? It's like, it starts on her, and her face is in the center of the frame, and then it's like, wow, look at this denim jacket, and it pans down. But you know how sort of she is, and it's the top buttons are unbuttoned, and then the camera pans down, and I don't know what she's saying. I haven't watched the commercials. I've been reading about it. I don't remember what it said in the article about what she's saying while the camera's moving, and then she's like, "Hey," and then the camera pans back up to her face, and she's like, and then I don't know what she says after that, but then it's like Sydney Sweeney has good genes. Oh, commercial ends. Okay. And then the other one, which I also haven't seen, but I've been reading about it a lot, is there's one where she's, I guess, walking around in a car, not in a car, but outside of a car, and she's got jeans on. She wore the same denim outfit essentially. And the camera does a slow pan. Akin to the other one, but on sort of a different region. And then I don't know what they're talking about in the commercial because I haven't seen it. I've only read about it. But then at the end of it, it's like Sydney Sweeney has good genes. Buy American Eagle. Purchase American Eagle. Okay, I might. I might. I don't. It seems like an effective marketing strategy, but also somehow maybe not an effective way to kick off today's show. Talking about a bunch of commercials that I haven't actually seen. I've only read about them through a couple different outlets. I've been reading about it a lot on NPR. Al Jazeera has done a whole feature about this. I think The Telegraph maybe wrote an article or two about this. And so maybe one day I'll check out the commercials, but I don't think they're going to be for me. So I'm happy for her that she's been Actually, this would be a funny time at sort of in line with what I'm talking about here. This would be a funny time to mention that my girlfriend and I have been doing a really interesting thing lately where we've been teaching each other about things, and I learned about bop houses. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Bop houses. I was unfamiliar with the term of what the hell is a bop. I guess for maybe the non-youths of the world, of bop, I guess is just sort of a different word for, with all due respect, Grandma, this is just sort of how the kids are talking these days. Bop is essentially just a different term for the hose. And so, which is just how she explained it to me, and not my grandma, but sorry, my grandma's not going to find that funny at all. My grandma would never say anything like that. But Maddie, that's sort of how she explained it to me. So bops, I guess, are just like TikTok girls, like IG Reel girls, who prey on like 15-year-olds to get them to like steal their parents' credit card and then like buy their OnlyFans, and then they'll be like, "My OnlyFans is free." And then you're like, whoa, I'm going to see a chick for free. And then, but the same woman has actually hired like a full-time team to handle her DMs on OnlyFans. And that's where all the money is made. That's where the real cash cow is. And they just prey on people who have small, unwrinkled brains, undeveloped brains. And that's the whole thing. And so I guess these bops, these aforementioned bops, sort of congregate, and they exist in they inhabit the same space. It's like a content house, but like for the hoes, you know what I mean? And so for OnlyFans girls, I guess that's just sort of how it works. Maddie was explaining this whole thing to me. And then, so actually I put her on some game, and she went to the store the other day, after she got off work. She went to the liquor store that's right nearby, and she picked me up some beer, and she got something for herself. It's called Mom Water. You guys ever hear of Mom Water? It's literally water, but it like has a little bit, it tastes like nothing, but there's just like a little bit of alcohol in it. And so she got that for herself, and then she was like, well, since I got Mom Water, I was going to get you Happy Dad. She's like, I'd never seen it before, Happy Dad. And I said, whoa, no, don't fucking get me that ever. Do not ever get me Happy Dad. I do not want that shit. And she was like, why? Whoa. She's like, what's wrong with Happy Dad? And so I had to explain to her, I don't know, if there's people maybe out there who don't know what Happy Dad is. Is it a seltzer? Is that what it's considered? I don't know like what category of liquor or alcohol that it falls under. But it's like a little mixed like cocktail. I don't know what you would call it. They're like lemonade flavor, a bunch of different flavors with, I would assume, is like vodka that's in it. I don't know what the alcohol percentage is, but it's just, it's alcohol, right? It's called Happy Dad. The branding is great. The branding is great. The logo is great. I love all of it. But I was like, no, Happy Dad is, it's a brand that was started by the Nelk Boys. The Nelk Boys. I had to explain to her. So she explained to me bops and bop houses. And so I explained to her the Full Send podcast and the Nelk Boys. And we had like a real brain rot conversation about what the kids are up to these days. And so I explained to her what the Full Send podcast is, and how you essentially have a guy who is not American. He's a fucking Canadian who is like directly involved in influencing American politics, which really pisses me off. What's his name? Kyle something, that little piece of shit, directly involved in influencing American politics. Now, if you're maybe living outside of the United States, and you live in a country that the United States has been directly implicated in influencing your country's politics, you might be thinking to yourself, hey man, how do you fucking like it? Yeah, it doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great. Canada, thought we were brothers in arms. Why'd you send this fucking shill to help us? Not help us out, but to like fuck with our shit, rip all the wires out of the goddamn government. This fucking kid. Isn't also the guy who started the Proud Boys, or like one of the high-ranking guys in the Proud Boys, pretty sure he's also Canadian? Jordan Peterson, pretty sure he's also Canadian, has sort of meddled with what we're doing around here. Fuck off. How about that? I don't know if any of the people I've mentioned have become citizens of the United States, and maybe it would be a little bit different if that was the case. I would say it would effectively be different, but also they influence shit in a way that is as fuck, and so it does still bother me. Well, the reason that I think this is important to bring up is because you talk about the Nelk Boys, you talk about Steiny, you talk about the Full Send podcast. One of you guys, like a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, sent in a little tip to the Coping Hour email, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program, which is a perfect way to use the email, by the way. It doesn't always have to be super manic emails that don't make any sense. and just like a way for people to trauma dump. I love that people trust me and like feel like they can use the email in that way, because you absolutely can. Sometimes I would like a little something here and there, though, like a tip that the Nelk Boys were about to interview the Israeli prime minister, what's his title over there? Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. I said, get the fuck out of here. That's not about to happen. So I did a little independent research. Turns out that was true. So I spent a week going on YouTube and being like, full send podcast, waiting for it to drop. I was like, why isn't this coming out? Because it was true. I found a bunch of articles that were like, yeah, this definitely just happened. They definitely just did the interview, and this is definitely going to come out. What the fuck, right? These guys have had Trump on like 15 times in the past. I think it's only like 3, but still, that's a lot of times to have Donald Trump on your podcast, right? A lot of people don't even get him once. Like Theo Von got him once. Rogan got him once. Nelk Boys have had him on like 3 or 4 damn times. Crazy. So you're getting Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, these guys, by the way, are fucking idiots. They're complete idiots. It's like frat boy culture. Like, if you are somebody who has a problem with Barstool, I can't imagine how you feel about the Nelk Boys and the Full Send podcast, right? But I'm honestly so disgusted that this is how I'm starting the show. But it's just a conversation that my girlfriend and I were having. It was interesting. And then, lo and behold, about maybe 2-3 days ago, it happens. It happens. The podcast dropped, and they got murdered for it. They interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu. It was insane. They literally did like Gay Son or Thought Daughter, but with like McDonald's or Burger King. And I was like, you're asking a guy who is orchestrating a man-made famine in Gaza right now if he prefers a Big Mac or a Whopper. Holy shit. They started the interview by being like, this is crazy. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, we're not qualified to do this. Like, we shouldn't be here. How about take your own advice next time? It went so poorly. The reception of it has been so bad because obviously you have a fucking war criminal on your podcast. And you're like, hey, man, we're journalists. We're just trying to see both sides of this. No, dude, you do goofs, chicks, and beer. That's like what you guys do, which is like whatever. Like, I don't know. There's always going to be a place in culture for that kind of thing. The people who will consume it, and the people who think that it's dumb and reject it will always think that it's dumb and reject it. I tend to fall in the latter category at this stage of my life, but I would be naive if I said that there's not an audience for it, right? But when those people start to dip their toe in the water, and this is honestly, I think, like a bigger conversation of like the gamification of politics as a whole. I think this is in some way like something that like real damage that Trump has done. If you talk about just like outside of administrative shit that has happened in the 2 terms that he served, and he's in the middle of the second one right now, but the 2 terms that he served, but like the gamification is, I guess, a good word, or like the entertainment factor of politics, where like, dog, you're not supposed to be as into this as you are. This is not supposed to be like as interesting as it is to people, but because he is like a TV brain and he has like an entertainment brain, and like the way that he thinks and the way that he does things and the way that he orchestrates is like to get your attention, and is very much like, look at me and pay attention to what I'm doing. And even when for 4 years he wasn't the president and Biden was the president, it was like, well, you kind of still have to pay attention because I'm fucking lurking in the shadows, and what's going to happen in 2024? He's going to win he's going to win another election is what's going to happen. So like, where's I going with this? Well, I don't know. As soon as you have a guy like Netanyahu on your podcast and it doesn't go well, and then those 2 fucking idiots start going on like a bunch of different other live streams and podcasts and like doing like PR crisis fucking damage control and being like, hey man, like we're having a pro-Palestinian guy on our show next week. Like, what's the fucking problem? And it's like, I don't know. Maybe these guys are just dumb. They're just dumb as fuck, and they weren't qualified to have that conversation with him. They didn't press him on anything. They just kind of took everything at face value, and it was bullshit. And after like 10 minutes, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And outside of those first 10 minutes, I just watched like short form content. Because like, imagine, I don't know, it's pretty smart by Netanyahu to just like capture the minds of like the smallest brain people in the entire fucking world. Even if the way that it transpired was a little bit transparent, and everybody, it just didn't, I don't really think it worked very well at all. But that was certainly a thing that happened this week. Did you see that? Did you hear about that? But actually, in this same vein, very weird start to today's episode. copinghourSubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever you listen to this program. 5 minutes ago, we got an email from Lev. Lev Lev is our, for those maybe who don't know or are unfamiliar, is our 11-year-old correspondent. Lev, I have to put your email on the back burner for a second because I was going into something else. Tristan. This email comes in from Tristan. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Subject line, is Gen Alpha screwed? Brain rot for kids. Hey, Nick. Tristan here again. I said welcome to the show. I should have said welcome back to the show, dude. Anyways, back to the email. I was babysitting my nephew the other day, and I got really bothered as I saw him watching YouTube Shorts. Not all videos were inappropriate, but most of the videos will start off by saying, like and subscribe if you love your parents. If you don't like and subscribe, you don't love them. At first, I thought this was funny, but the more I thought about it, the more it upset me. Of course, my nephew liked the video right away. I think it's disgusting how there are content creators who make money off of the ignorance of little kids. Obviously, their parents/caretakers should be monitoring their media consumption, but it doesn't justify this crazy behavior. I've seen both of my nephews watch YouTube Shorts of AI Jesus saying, I've been blessing you since you were born. Share this video with as many people as possible so that I can keep blessing you. What the fuck? We've mentioned to their moms how unsupervised YouTube Shorts are not an appropriate media outlet for these young boys, but they don't monitor or enforce the content that their children consume. They give them their smartphones and they just let them watch whatever they want. Obviously, if I see anything really inappropriate, then I take their phone away and explain why they shouldn't be watching it. Kids are kids, and they're going to do whatever you let them do at the end of the day. But it really bothers me the amount of times that my nephews will complain about being bored. I always reply with, life is boring. Make something fun out of it. They don't want to play with their younger cousin, in parentheses, that's your son. You said my toddler son. For more than 10 minutes. They don't want to watch kids' movies. They get bored of toys so quickly. They just want to sit and watch Brainrot on YouTube or play Roblox. And I don't blame them. They're young and they don't know any better. My nephews are 6 and 9 years old. I have a 3-year-old niece who's just given a phone every time we go out so that she can chill and be quiet. I feel like it's sad how we aren't encouraging these kids to use their imagination. I know so many parents and grandparents just use technology to regulate the emotions of these young kids. I feel like we're screwing up their brain development. Who knows? Maybe I'm overreacting and it won't matter in the long run. Only time will tell. It's the end of the email. Tristan, that's a great email because it's something that I kind of wrestle with all the time. Where I think kind of what you said at the end there, I'm going to change your verbiage a little bit, but I think in some way in 2 days, my son will be 15 months old, right? There are plenty of times where I use technology as a pacifier, right? Like if he is just, there's nothing that I can do, right? And I spend 20 minutes holding him and trying to get him to play with different toys. I try to feed him. He doesn't want to eat. And you do all this, you tickle him. He doesn't want to be tickled. All this stuff. Sometimes maybe his teeth are just kind of hurting, and that's what the problem is. You give him some like little baby Tylenol or a little baby Orajel or something like that. It's just not working. He's just kind of throwing a fit. And I've just kind of been at my wit's end because he hasn't taken a nap in 5 hours. What I do know is that if I put on Miss Rachel for 15 minutes, he'll chill. And it will give me a minute to just kind of like relax and kind of reset. But that's kind of my limit is like, I think it's like 20 minutes, I would say. Is he gets maybe 20 minutes of Miss Rachel because I know the second that he hears, hi, friends, hello, he's going to look at the TV and he's going to smile and he's going to lose his mind, right? But even then, what I've learned is Miss Rachel kind of like zonks him where he is so stimulated because the colors are so saturated and there's so much stimulation, there's so much happening that like if I put on Blue's Clues, which is something that like I watched as a kid, he's almost more like attentive. Does that make sense? Because the colors aren't as saturated and like formulaically it's still a kid's show, so it's like still the same thing, but it's just the way that it's done is different. And so I've learned that he can tolerate a full episode of Blue's Clues. And that's, again, kind of what it is. It's 20 minutes. It's about the same thing. Like one episode of Blue's Clues, and then it kind of chills him out. And then, like, that's kind of it, right? And I've also thought about, okay, so what's going to happen when he gets to a certain age and he does have a little bit more autonomy and he can kind of watch some stuff. And I am very scared, honestly, of the rabbit holes that you can fall down on YouTube because, like, haha, we make jokes about, like, women sitting in, like, bubble baths and selling sticks of deodorant. But also, like you see stuff like that, like shit that's like weirdly horny for like on like YouTube for kids or stuff that just kind of gets like aggressively violent for no reason at all. Or you see accounts that you were talking about where they like farm the neurodrama of these children where they make it seem like it's life or death, where if you do not engage with this video, then like this thing is going to happen. Now, the truth is, are you overreacting to it? No, this is definitely a real problem because the content that they're consuming is different than what we consumed as kids, right? But also like what we consumed as kids was like, think about like Facebook in the late 2000s. Yeah, man, there's always going to be stuff. This is even still a thing, by the way, but like just the concept of like and share this thing or else you're going to have bad luck for a week. Send this to like your top 3 friends or else this thing's going to happen, right? Or else like your mom's going to die or some shit like that. That type of content that almost like as when your brain is underdeveloped and you're dumb as fuck, like if you feel like there's like great consequence and like, oh my gosh, if this thing doesn't happen, it's just kind of always been a thing. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that it's not a bigger deal now, especially, you know, not to sound like too much of a dork, but talk about like AI Jesus. Like, yeah, man, like we're already at a point where it's easy to distinguish what is an AI video and what isn't. But think about where we were a year ago and where it was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely AI. With photos specifically, again, I think as long as you like have the trained eye for it, you don't even have to have that trained of an eye for it. You can tell when something is AI because it's always almost like airbrushed in a certain way. There's just an effect to it that you know that it's AI. But you would be naive if you're saying that the pace that it's grown at and the rapidness of it isn't terrifying. And if it's not a year from now, then certainly by the end of the decade, there's a world where whether it's still images or whether it's, you know, full-length videos or even whether it's like voices, you know, voiceovers and stuff like that, it will be a lot harder to discern what is real and what isn't. So in this instance, yes, if you are a practicing person, if you are observant, you have a faith in some way, and you see 5 years from now AI Jesus being like, what's up? Like, what the hell is up? What, I died for your sins and you can't like and subscribe this fucking video? Who's the piece of shit now? Yeah, I don't know. I just think it adds a sense of panic. Like, I remember reading a story, like this is an anecdote from a guy in r/daddit. This was a while ago, where he was talking about the exact same thing that you're talking about. Only the context of it was the kid was watching like a Minecraft YouTuber or something like that. And at various points throughout the video, the guy would he was like doing like some like narrative storytelling thing in like this Minecraft world that he had created. But again, the target demographic was like 5 to like 10-year-olds, right? And you create this sense of panic where several times throughout this video, you'll be like, if you don't like and subscribe and comment right now, then the story just cannot progress. And so again, you're like creating this sense of, it's not FOMO, but like, you know, fear of missing out. It's not quite that, but you're creating this panic. You're creating this dread where if I do not engage with this video right now, then there will be real world consequence. There will be legitimate consequence to my lack of action if I don't do this, right? Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's pretty wild. It's definitely a thing. I don't know how many of you out there, I don't want to be the guy who's like, if you don't have kids, you won't get it. But seriously, like this part of YouTube, if you don't have kids, I don't know how many people are really in touch with this. And so where I meant to go with this a couple of minutes ago is like, when my kid does get to a certain age where, again, he has more autonomy and he's sort of able to discern like what content he wants to watch on his own, dog, you're not watching YouTube Shorts on like either of our phones. First of all, you're not watching it on an iPad. Like, you can watch it on the TV and it will be in a super controlled environment where all of the variables are in my possession as the holder of the remote. And if there's something that you want to watch, like, it sucks that you have to helicopter parent these kids. And I don't really know if that's what you're calling it. Eventually these kids are going to get to a certain age where they will watch what they want to watch the same way that we did when we were kids, and you know, how it impacted us eventually shaped us to be the people that we are today. But as somebody who was growing up at an age where the internet was booming and booming and booming, and I, for the most part, had like unrestricted internet access because my parents were not very aware of like the type of things that you could do or the type of things that you could see on the internet. I know how that affected me. And as somebody who is super in tune with what happens on the internet and like the furthest reaches of the internet that you can possibly go, good or bad, I don't really know how to navigate being protective of that yet, because I'm not really at a point where I've had to think about it that much. Your email did definitely make me think about it a fair amount, but I still have a few years to go. And then even by the time we get to that point, a few years from now, you know, one day it's kind of just going to happen. I'm going to be like, shit, like I need to figure this out. But it's impossible again, with how, rapid this growth is of the internet and with artificial intelligence and like this new landscape of content creation that we have, it's impossible to predict a couple of years from now where it's going to be and the type of content. Like, who knows, like, what restrictions are going to get placed on YouTube and like the type of content that you can or cannot produce. I mean, we've already seen YouTube crack down in recent weeks. Like, this was within the last month. YouTube started cracking down on like aggregate accounts who post highlights, or they post like movie clips or TV clips or something like that, short or long form content. Those people can no longer be monetized, which is actually really interesting, because first of all, that is a good thing, because I'm not going to be the guy who's like, stealing IP and making money off of somebody else's shit is wrong. Like, not really. In this new like digital age that we live in, you don't really own anything. You don't really own the movies that you have on your on like your fucking Roku or whatever. You don't really own all the games that you have like digital downloads for, especially if you get it from like PlayStation Store, like PS Plus for like a free game of the month, or like Xbox Game Pass. Like, you don't really own anything. So like, if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing, is kind of the way that I look at it. But I also think that these aggregate accounts are kind of bullshit, but not really, because the truth here is that aggregation is the oldest form of like revenue generation that has existed on the internet, period. Right? Like, aggregating is very much the lifeblood of the internet. Like, how many times do you hear breaking news in like whatever your favorite thing is, right? Like, most of you listening to this, if not all of you listening to this, your favorite thing is probably going to be the NBA, but it could be the NFL, it could be the NHL, MLB, it could be soccer, it could be the fucking Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, it could be literally anything, right? How often do you hear news from your favorite thing and it wasn't from like the lead insider? It wasn't from Shams Charania. It was from like Reddit, somebody making a post about it, or it was from some like third-rate blog on Facebook, or from some fan account on Instagram or something like that. Bro, that's aggregation, right? Like, that is the oldest, it's like a primitive way of making money on the internet. So it is an interesting precedent that YouTube has set by saying like, we're actually not going to reward those people for doing it anymore. I guess there is also sort of, I'm kind of like trying to cross a Venn diagram that doesn't actually exist, because it's not technically aggregating in the traditional sense, where if Blake Griffin gets traded to Detroit and Woj, sends a tweet out about it, and then I write an article about it on Piston Powered, I'm like aggregating that news. Or if there's insider shit that I hear on a podcast and I write a story about it, right? That's aggregating. But if I'm a YouTube channel and I'm just posting clips from the movie Titanic, I don't really know in the traditional sense that that's aggregating. You're sort of just like biting it and flipping it and redistributing content that already exists. And even if you're not saying that it belongs to you, you are still capitalizing on the content itself, right? The IP itself. Does that make sense? So I think I've strayed a little bit from your point. The thing that I do agree with ultimately with you on is, well, actually all of it. There's not necessarily just one thing. It is definitely an issue. I'm fortunate enough that I haven't had to tackle it yet. I do know that Roblox is like a breeding ground for what the fuck is going on over there. These sandbox games. It's a dangerous world, that Roblox. There is some shit that happens in there. I was just reading from like fucking World Star like 2 weeks ago. World Star reporting on Roblox. They're like creating a dating service in there, but you have to be like 18 in order to participate in it, and you would have to verify that with some piece of identification. Okay, so what happens when little Timmy, who's 10 years old, let's say he's 12 years old and he's starting to like really learn about girls, right? What happens when little Timmy steals his dad's ID out of his wallet and like takes a picture of it and is like, what's up? I'm a 45-year-old guy. And Roblox doesn't flag that because they're like, obviously a 45-year-old guy would be mixing it up in the Roblox day. It's just such a strange precedent. I don't know, man. I've played some like mini games in Roblox with my niece. She just turned 11 a couple months ago. It's, I don't know, fun mini games, but I don't know what the hell's going on in there. Don't know what's going on in there. Super bizarre. Really good email, though, dude. Let's do another one. Do we want to do the one from Lev? You want me to just blindly read this one? From Lev, this is, again, our 11-year-old correspondent, Brooklyn Nets fan. Yeah, let's just do it. Subject line, how to deal with sleepaway camp. Lev, welcome back to the show. You said, hi, Nickel. How do I deal with sleepaway camp? I have been to sleepaway camp for the past 2 years, and this will be my third. The first year I went to sleepaway camp, I went for 13 days in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. The second year I went for 15 days in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. This year I'm going to do the same sleepaway camp I did last summer, but I'm going for 24 days. In the first summer I got a little homesick. In the second summer I didn't get homesick. I have a few friends there, but that's it. I can get up to 3 emails per week, but I cannot email to someone else. I can call someone once a week, or I can get 1 phone call per week. Have you ever been to sleepaway camp? Lev, I've never heard this term before in my entire life. Sleepaway camp. I've never heard that before. I can deduce what it is that you're talking about, though. I've just never heard it phrased that way. I have, actually. I assume it's just a place that you go for a week and you're away from your family, and while you're there, you just do fun activities and stuff like that. Have I ever done that before? I have. It was in 5th grade. It was called 5th grade camp is what it was. And yeah, every year the 5th grade class would go to Clear Lake. It was called Clear Lake Camp. And you would spend the week there, away from your family, and you would just like hang out in the woods. And one time one of the days we made like little pizzas in like an aluminum foil thing. You stayed in bunks, literally like a fucking military barracks is where you stayed. When you went to take a shower, you basically all lined up like butt ass naked, but with towels around you, and you just like waited your turn to get in the shower. But it was one of those showers where there were like 6 individual shower units, but they were all separated by like curtains. You know what I mean? So like you couldn't actually, there wasn't like doors or anything like that. So it was really hard to navigate. I saw a lot of penises. It's just an accident. You don't know where you're going. You can't see anything. And then you just walk in and there's just a naked kid standing there. You're like, fuck. That was the same year. It was like the first night that we were there. Our counselor for our like little bunk area he like plugged in the aux, and he was like, if you have any songs that you want me to play, like just let me know and I'll put them on. We were all jamming out to music. It's probably like there's like 3 5th grade classes in my school. So boys, 40 kids, maybe 50 kids in there. I don't know. And my buddy and we said, yeah, we got a song for you. Play Last Resort by Papa Roach. This guy clearly didn't know the song and played it immediately, didn't even hesitate. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Last Resort by Papa Roach, and or rather, even if you are, and you think about that through the lens of making a grown man play that for a bunch of 5th graders who, at the time, what are you, like 9 or 10 years old? The first lyrics of the song are, cut my life into pieces, this is my last resort, suffocation, no breathing, don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding. But the important thing there was that he says, don't give a fuck. And the second they said, don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding, he cut the music and he goes over the PA and he's like, well, turns out we got some potty mouths in this cabin. So if anybody else has some music that they'd like to play, just let me know. I was dying laughing. It was the funniest shit. Pranked, get jackassed, get Borated. I actually feel pretty bad about that in retrospect. The guy was just trying to do a solid, and we were like, what if we played a song by Papa Roach? But I don't know. It was a good song at the time. Halo 3 had just come out. I'd been watching a lot of montages of people hitting like 6 snipes to Last Resort by Papa Roach. And so, yeah, it was really cool. We went in the winter, so we didn't actually get to go in the lake, but otherwise we would have gotten to do like canoeing and stuff like that. I was always resentful of the fact that we didn't get to do that. It was cold as shit. The next year I was in 6th grade. I don't want to say this, but I'm telling the story, so whatever. The next year that we went, the counselor that we had got arrested for, I'm not going to say it, but you already know what I'm going to say. Yeah, for real. Like, actually, he got arrested for that. The year after, he was our counselor, and his name was Skippy. I should have seen it coming. I should have known there was something wrong with this guy. You get what I'm saying now? He got arrested for that a year later. I was like, fuck, that could have been me. It wasn't, but it could have been. Did I get homesick while I was there? Yeah, I think maybe by the end of it I did. I guess I don't really remember that feeling very much other than like it definitely did happen. I just don't remember how intense it was. And I got homesick really bad. Like as a kid in general, I remember one time I went over to a kid's house and I didn't really go over to kids' houses that much. I usually told them no, just because I don't know. I don't know why as a kid. I just refused to go to other people's houses, and I never let anybody come to my house. I never had a friend over in my entire life, and to this day, I like literally never have ever. It's just sort of like my home is my home, and why do you need to be here? I'll go to your house, but you don't need to come to mine. But as a kid, I was very weird about going even over to other kids' houses and just hanging out outside of school. But one time in elementary school, I did go to a kid's house, and after like 3 hours, I just fell into like this insane depression where I was like, I just don't care about anything and I want to fucking go home. And I remember the friend I was playing with was like, why do you want to go home? Like, I thought we were having fun. And I was like, I don't care. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. Nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. And then I like walked up to I just like sat by the door and looked out the window and was like waiting for my parents to pull into the driveway. I had no idea when they were coming. I was just praying that they were going to come. And then eventually his dad was like, are you okay? And I was like, will you please take me home? I can't do this anymore. He was like, oh, okay. He was like, do you want like a piece of cheese or something? I never forget that. He asked me if I wanted a piece of cheese. It was very, very kind. And I said no. But I wouldn't look anybody in the eyes. I was just like, no, please take me home. And so I got home and my parents were like, what the fuck? Like, why are you home? And I was like, I didn't want to be there anymore. I look back on that and it breaks my heart for that kid's dad that his son had a friend over and he was like, I wasn't an asshole. I was just clearly like, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to go home, but I can understand maybe how that would suck if my kid had a friend over here in a couple of years and after a couple hours they were having fun and then suddenly something happened and he just wanted to go home. That would be devastating. I would feel so bad for my son. Yeah, I don't know, Lev. You'll get through it, dude. It's going to be a fun time. This is sort of one of those things that, you know, you're 11. So this is very much one of those experiences that like shapes you. Like this is something that for the rest of your life, you'll look back at this year and the last couple of years that you've done this with like super fond memories, and it will stink being away from home. But all that means is that you love your family very much and that you want to be around them, right? And that's really, really nice. So just enjoy it as much as you can. Because by the time you come home, there's a chance that you wish that you could go back. You'll be happy that you're home, but there are going to be it was in between saying parts and portions. There'll be portions of this week that you just like kind of wish you could have back, and in some ways, like it'll be hard to recapture those moments. Like you're in your youth, brother. Just enjoy them. So let's do another one. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one comes into us from Matthew. Matthew, I believe, welcome back. Subject line, Cam Thomas bitched Zach Lowe. Hashtag Wemby would drop Jordan. I believe those two are unrelated, but it's in the subject line. So I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it's in the subject line, I have to read it. If it's in the teleprompter, I got to read it. Sup, my boy. I've been in the comments a few times. I wanted to send the Dame/D-Book email, but here we are with a banger nonetheless. Also, my girlfriend loved your podcast. We listen on our morning Starbucks run while we drive around before we start our day, so I appreciate that. You said loved in past tense. Are you guys okay? Or did you just meant to say loves? I think S and D are right next to each other on a keyboard. Yeah, they're right next to each other. This is fat finger by you, a little typo by you. No big deal. Thank you to you and your girlfriend. Very kind. You said everybody seems to have a problem with Cam Thomas's response to Zach Lowe, but I'm not really getting it. Why do we have this expectation that an athlete who's going through contract negotiations is just supposed to have his name thrown around by prominent figures in NBA/sports media like you're trying to devalue a player in your fantasy group chat? Is it not clocking to you? And then he included a picture of Justin Bieber. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the meme right now, Justin Bieber, where he was like, is it not clocking to you that I'm standing on business? I included that picture. Back to the email. Is it not clocking to you that there's a world where maybe Mr. Zach Lowe, I don't know, relax? First of all, Cam Thomas is not bad. Last year was fantastic, barring the injuries. When he was actually on the floor, his playmaking was pretty damn good relative to previous years. He's literally gotten better every single year. He's been in the NBA. He's a prolific scorer, consensus top 10 active players, and he's 23. Hold on. He's a top 10. You fucking are talking about what here? He's literally gotten better every single year that he's been in the NBA. He's a prolific scorer, consensus top 10 among active players, and he's 23. So are you being tongue-in-cheek when you say that? Are you saying that Cam Thomas is a top 10 scorer in the NBA? Are you saying that he's a top 10 player in the NBA? Either way, I'm really happy for you that you think that. That's really nice. That's really cool. Everybody should believe things that aren't true. I believe a lot of things that aren't true, and I really admire that you believe that. Anyways, back to the email. We praised Tyrese Maxey like he didn't have Joel Embiid in his blow-up season. I get everyone has the right to their own opinion, and I am not saying Zach Lowe shouldn't have said that. What I am saying is please shut up about it's unprofessional, because, motherfucker, if someone across the hall from you started cracking jokes about, oh, yeah, Bob, who stands a lot at work to watch Motown Noah, a.k.a. Nicholas Hinkle, can't fucking read and is dumb, you'd get pretty hot, too. What are you talking about there? What did you just say there? So you're saying, what I am saying is please shut up about, quote-unquote, it's unprofessional. You're talking about, I think you're saying it's unprofessional, the quote-unquote, to the people who are mad at Cam Thomas for him getting in Zach Lowe's ass. I think that's what you're saying. You're not saying it's unprofessional to Zach Lowe. You're saying it's unprofessional. Okay, so I think you're defending Cam Thomas there with the quote-unquote, it's unprofessional, by saying, because, motherfucker, if someone across the hall from you started cracking jokes about, oh, yeah, Bob, who stands a lot at work to watch Motown Noah, a.k.a. Nicholas, you said Nicholas Nickel, by the way, can't fucking read and is dumb, then you'd get pretty hot, too. So you said the stands thing because we have standers and sitters who listen to this show. Listen, sometimes I can't read because motherfuckers don't know how to spell. All right? That's where I get tripped up. P.S. Danny Wolf will be better than Yang Hansen. He's literally a rim-running Shengun with the Jokic tune spot-up shoot, and Mr. McShoots-a-lot Cam Thomas. Yegor Demon in garbage, and we will not fall for this ruse of a new starting PG. Oh, wait, they drafted 4 of them. Got it. This is what I'm talking about. What are you fucking saying here, bro? Matthew, I'm giving you so much grace here, because I, by the way, disagree with this entire email. Danny Wolf will be better than Yang Hansen. He is literally a rim-running Shengun with the Jokic tune spot-up shoot and Mr. McShoots-a-lot Cam Thomas. I'm reading exactly what you say here. Yegor Demon in garbage, and we will not fall food this ruse of a new starting PG. We will not fall food of this ruse of a new starting PG. Oh, wait, they drafted 4 of them. Got it. First of all, Danny Wolf is Shengun and Jokic. I admire your ability to temper expectations and to be realistic about your evaluations. It's a hard skill, and I think you've mastered it. You've nailed it here, brother. Will Yang Hansen be bad? I don't care. It'd be funnier if he was good. The preseason game that they were playing, I mean, the viewership numbers were insane. I mean, millions of people. I think it might have been, I don't remember, I don't want to say tens of millions. Millions of people were watching the Blazers play. And then you said, anyways, hashtag Wemby top 5, hashtag Wemby MVP, hashtag Wemby DPOY, hashtag Wemby. Okay, we get it. You big Victor Wembanyama guy. So the genesis of this email is that you're upset that Zach Lowe called out Cam Thomas and that you think it's bullshit that he's allowed to do that. I think you are directing your anger at the wrong person here completely. Like, completely. The reason why people are a little bit agitated with Cam Thomas right now isn't because he did some, like, super unprofessional shit and, like, oh, man, you can't just, you know, call someone, you can't, what did he say to Zach Lowe? He was like, shut the fuck up or something like that. He said some pretty aggressive shit on Twitter. That's not really, like, why people are that mad. I don't think that's, like, that's just kind of the name of the game in 2025. Like, how many years removed are we from someone tweeting at John Morant and being like, hey, I wish you played better today. And he was like, it's free to see how hollows feel, pussy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Somebody like 2 weeks ago was like, hey, Kevin Durant, fuck you. And Kevin Durant was like, fuck your mom, and I bet that she's upset that she had you. Some shit like that. I don't remember. He's getting in some guy's ass about, I don't know, he's talking about his mom. This is funny. I don't know. It's sort of the nature of these guys could, like, be online. You know, a lot of these guys are like my age or younger. These guys have grown up with the internet and like everything existing online. So like that will sort of be reflected in what happens in the NBA. I don't really think that's what the problem here is. The problem is like, Zach Lowe is pretty, like maybe the only guy in NBA media right now who has zero agenda. Zero agenda. That guy is all about the hoops. He is not going to get behind a microphone and say some outlandish shit just for the sake of saying outlandish shit. He does not care about narratives. He's not pushing anything other than what he is seeing with his own two eyes. Some clips that got circulated that maybe Cam Thomas was responding to, I just thought were like not altered, but like I don't really think they were reflective of the point that Zach Lowe was making. Zach Lowe did not say anything that was disrespectful about Cam Thomas. He did not. By the way, he didn't even say he was bad at basketball. He called him a ball hog, which, by the way, anybody who has ever watched Cam Thomas play in his entire life would come away with the conclusion that on a bad team, like the only guy who can generate his own fucking shot is probably going to be a ball hog. And then, to that point, the funniest thing that Cam Thomas did when he responded to Zach Lowe was being like, how the fuck am I a ball hog when I got 2-3 guys on me the second that I cross half court? Let me hold your hand while I say this, Cam Thomas. Maybe that's because the defense knows you're not going to pass the fucking ball. You're going to be the guy with the ball in his hands for the next 18 seconds while you dribble the ball dribble the damn air out of the basketball, right? Oh, his playmaking got better as the season went along. Maybe it fucking did. He averaged 4 assists a game. I don't know. Who is he going to be passing it to? That's not really the point here. Like, it's not disrespectful to say Cam Thomas really be shooting that motherfucker. He shot 18, he had 18 damn attempts a game last season. You don't think that guy gets his shots up? You don't think that guy wants the ball in his hands? Like, it's okay. His efficiency, it was fine. I think he was like, what was it, like 40s off the top of my head. I think it was like 42% from the field. What was it, like mid-30s from 3? Yeah, fine. Those numbers are completely fine. Brooklyn was bad. They didn't have anything going for them. They had 5 first-round picks this year. They spent fucking 4 of them on point guards. What the fuck? What's going on? Oh, well, he's in the middle of contract negotiations. You think Sean Marks is going to hear Zach Lowe be like, Cam Thomas is a ball hog, and be like, oh, fuck, he's kind of right. We shouldn't pay him $100 million. We should pay him $60 million. How dumb do you think Sean Marks is? That he's going to be influenced by what, with all due respect to Zach Lowe, because again, I think he's one of those guys that you should pay a lot of respect to. You think he gives a fuck about what Zach Lowe says? That's not factoring into this at all. That's not like how this really works at all. Like, you could make the argument that mock drafts in the NFL actually do influence the outcome of certain guys falling or rising. That is a real thing that happens, and that has been documented because owners read these things, right? And so then they get their own opinions about these guys, and it's a whole thing, and yada, yada, yada. It just doesn't happen that much in the NBA, especially when there is like real empirical data of what Cam Thomas is like when he plays in a basketball game, which is a guy who likes to have the ball in his hands, a guy who like doesn't like pass the ball that much because he can shoot the shit out of the ball. I don't know. Like, if you have a guy who's like your number one creator, your number one scorer, yeah, you want the ball in his hands a lot. And guess what? The ball is in his hands a lot. I have no idea what his usage percentage is. What do you think it was last year? It's going to take me way too long to look this up, so I'm not even going to bother. I would be shocked if it wasn't like 36%. And I just think it's funny that guy, yeah, he has 18 shots a game and he has like 4 assists a game. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I really don't, like Zach Lowe, again, is like the last guy to come at about this, I think, is kind of where everybody was taken aback a little bit. Because it's like, I'm not, Cam Thomas, maybe he just like doesn't really know, which is fine. It's not his responsibility to know the media guys in the landscape. But like for the people who do know, Zach Lowe did not say anything disrespectful. He didn't say anything crazy. And guess what? He also didn't say anything that was wrong. He didn't say anything that literally, I guess not everybody thinks. I guess you don't think it, right? But you don't think there's a reason that Cam Thomas hasn't been signed to that extension yet? You think there's a reason... or rather, you don't think there's a reason that he hasn't? As of this taping, hey, maybe this will age poorly. The moment that I'm taping this, Cam Thomas without a contract. So it's almost August, brother. Free agency's been open for like a month. If Brooklyn was really motivated to get this done, they probably would have. Sounds like Cam Thomas wants more than what Brooklyn's willing to pay him. Why do you think that might be? Oh, I guess it's because he listened to Zach Lowe. I guess it's because Sean Marks and Joseph Tsai heard Zach Lowe's podcast. That came out like 3 days ago. And that's why they haven't been paying Cam Thomas for the last month. Oh, okay. We finally got to the bottom of it. Gotcha. But actually, as a B story to this whole thing, you know what came up on my radar, Pistons fans? I got a text from Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Bucket, and a text from my brother within 5 minutes. First, it was actually Jacob who texted me. He's like, hey, you picking up on these rumors that the Pistons are trying to go after Cam Thomas? What? Huh? Bullshit. So I Google it, do some independent research. And Google led me to like an Instagram account that had like 10 followers, and they're like, the Pistons have been linked to Cam Thomas. It's the only thing I found on it. And then like 5 minutes later, my brother texted me and he was like, huh? And linked was like Bovada odds, where the Pistons are currently the odds-on favorite to land Cam Thomas. And I was like, yeah, bro, I just heard about this too. What the fuck is going on? So then the question is like, Cam Thomas in Detroit, does that make any sense? Not really, but it is fun. It does make sense in the way that, okay, well, the Pistons, if you look at them in the playoffs, we're down a couple of bodies. One of those bodies would have added a medium at worst scoring punch in Jaden Ivey. And so if, God forbid, someone goes down, something happens, even if it's not Jaden Ivey, like let's say J.I. stays healthy the entire season, and instead it's like Duncan Robinson, or it's like Karis LeVert that goes down, or Marcus Sass, or like somebody gets hurt. Well, if you end up with Cam Thomas, you probably didn't pay him $100 million. You probably didn't do that. And so, I don't know, I think to have a guy that like just kind of like be shooting the ball and doesn't really do anything else, I always think there's value for one of those guys on a team, but it's like they kind of have Karis. That's kind of like Karis's deal. I'm sure, advanced numbers would tell me that Karis is a better defender than Cam Thomas. I think my eyes would probably tell me that. The history would probably tell me that. But I don't think it's that crazy. I think it's a little crazy because it's like, okay, so where are you putting Cam Thomas if he ends up in Detroit? Which is crazy. I don't really understand. Still really understand where this has come from, other than the fact that Vegas is saying that it's going to happen. Well, you can't. I mean, are you going to put him next to Cade? Like, what is Cam Thomas shooting off of the catch? Would maybe be something for me to look into. I don't imagine it's that good. And if it is fine, then like, I don't know. It's also fine for Duncan Robinson, and it's also fine for Karis LeVert. It's probably great for Duncan Robinson, honestly, relative to what we have. Okay, so you're going to put him in next to J.I. in the starting five? Probably not. You're going to put him with the twos? I guess, but I don't know. The whole thing is just kind of weird. Like, him and Cade on the floor together is weird. Him and Karis on the floor together is weird. If Cam Thomas is on the team, and that's maybe the other thing, by the way, is like, how does that work? Because I know the Dennis Schroeder deal that they did with Sacramento, I'm pretty sure gave Detroit like a decent trade exception. Maybe like $15 million is the number that comes to mind, but as a trade exception, that would be very big. And I don't think it was 15, but I swear to God, it was somewhere around there, right? Are you doing that? And then you just like, you get what I'm saying? Like, do you sign and trade Cam Thomas and use that trade exception? And then I don't know is there anything left in the like actual like cap space? I think they still have some money with like a non-taxpayer mid-level. Did they use the biannual? I don't know. The finances, the books right now are a little murky in Detroit because I don't know if the actual details of contracts have come out other than like that, of guys that we've signed, other than like Duncan Robinson guaranteed this year. I think next year is partially guaranteed. And I'm pretty sure the third year on his deal is non-guaranteed. So like they got him on an amazing contract. I don't remember the details about Karis. Again, since he signed the deal and they weren't immediately available, I'm sure there's, some better insights that we could look into it now. Cam Thomas in Detroit, that's weird. But fun. And no matter what that looks like, it would only happen like if Trajan has a vision. And I really do believe like, you sort of fall victim to like, I trust my GM. But like, in the past, there have been reasons that have been made clear very immediately, like why you shouldn't trust certain GMs. Like with Troy Weaver, the most notable one was just because you got a big man does not mean that they're going to be good. Troy Weaver just really likes big men. That's kind of it. He also liked Derek Queen, and then Derek Queen had like a mysterious injury and then got a surgery and then will be reevaluated like 2 weeks before the season starts. Not available 2 weeks before the season starts. Reevaluated before the season starts. Incredible buffoonery from Troy Weaver there. And Joe Dumars, too. I should blame Joe Dumars specifically here. Because it's like you traded up 10 spots and then gave up an unprotected swap for next year, which would have been super valuable because it was coming from either Milwaukee or Indiana. I don't remember. But a super valuable asset that you just kind of let go of to get Derek Queen that you didn't have to do. I think Derek Queen was amazing at Maryland. I think he could be really, really good in the NBA. I think it could be a home run pick, and there's a world where nobody cares about what they gave up to get him, and it doesn't matter. But the fact that everybody clowned the trade as soon as it happened, and then immediately following that, within a month, Derek Queen gets a mysterious surgery that we don't know anything about, and is just gone. He's just gone. It's really funny. I'm saying all this to say, like, I don't know, like, what has Trajan really done so far that kind of makes you raise your eyebrow? I'm sure if I really thought about it, or maybe one of you will leave something in the comments where I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a good point. Everything's kind of been a home run, but that's also because he's only been in the seat for, what, a year? So there just hasn't been that much, like, room for him to do some, like, insane buffoon shit. You know what I mean? I mean, even getting a guy like Tobias Harris, it's like, well, we would have ended up with Tobias even if Trajan wasn't the GM. Like, Troy would have done that too. It had been in the cards for so long. Maybe like the Quentin Grimes trade wouldn't have happened and you don't end up with Hardaway. Would you have ended up with Beasley? Sounded like he wanted to be here pretty bad, and it didn't really matter who the GM was. So, like, the Ron Holland thing, yeah, you can give him credit for Ron Holland. These are just good things that I'm saying, by the way. Like, there just hasn't been enough time for him to do something dumb. And so, like, for right now, kind of in that honeymoon phase with him as a GM, where, like, if he's going to bring in Cam Thomas, either that ends up being the first thing where you're like, what the fuck was that all about? But even then, you would just have to look at the contract. You can't really say anything, because if you end up with Cam Thomas on, like, I don't know, 2 years, $35 million? Hell yes. I think 17.5 a year AAV. That sounds good for a guy like Cam Thomas. And you would, I think, because what does he want? 4 for 100? So what's the math on that? That's 25 a year? Yeah, sure. Get him on a 2-year, $30 million deal. I don't care. That's fine. That's completely fine. I don't know if they can pay him that, is the thing. And it also doesn't sound like something that he would take. And I also don't think that he's the kind of guy that would just be like chill with the idea of, I don't know. Is he getting Dennis Schroeder'd right now? Where he like, no, because I don't think Cam Thomas ever had the opportunity for this insane payday. But again, that could age poorly. Who knows what's going on over there? But all I do know is that I think this email is, I don't think Zach Lowe is the guy that you should be directing your anger at. I also don't think you should be mad at Cam Thomas. Oh, well, if somebody said that Motown Noah didn't know how to read, fuck you. How about that? I know how to read. I do. I had an advanced reading level, like, immediately. Immediately. When I was a kid. I was the kid that when you were in elementary school and you had to pass the microphone around while the class was reading together and everybody had to read, I read like a motherfucker, and I laughed at the kids who didn't know how to read. Because I was like, what do you mean you can't read, bitch? Pass the mic. I'll show you how it's done. There was a test that we would take in middle school. It's like SRI tests or something like that. It was like a literacy test. Is that like 1,600? I was getting like 1,500 in like 6th grade. I could read like a motherfucker, bro. Tell me I don't know how to read. And people leave mean comments all the time. People say mean shit to me all the time. I got an email a year ago from a guy who was like, I'm going to go to your house and kill you and dribble your head off of the curb like a basketball. I swear to God, a real email that got sent in. Fucked with me for like a day. That sucked. Probably like the worst thing that anyone's ever said to me. But like, I don't know. Most of the time I either don't care or I delete the comment and then I'm like, oh, now it's not real. Now I don't care. Or it's like the guy in the last episode who left a comment. I made a comment in passing about the Subway hot takes guy. I just think it's not a good show, and I think it's dumb. And the truth is, I don't really even believe that. I just kind of said it, and I just kind of like rolled with it. Whatever. It's just kind of the nature of the show where I just say things, and then that's it. And then I move on, and I forget that I said it. Well, a guy left a comment where I swear to God, he spent more time writing the comment than I did actually delivering the take. Just in like staunch defense of this show, of this Subway hot takes. It was so ridiculous that I couldn't even possibly be mad about it because it was so funny how worked up this guy was. I'm so happy that he found something that he will defend the way that they defended it. I thought that was really honorable. And the truth is that I wish I could touch the hearts of people the way that guy did, or rather the way that show does for that person. What else do I got for you guys today? I had so much soccer stuff that I wanted to talk about, and in this exact moment, it's all escaping me, and I can't seem to remember it. That might be it. Is that it for today's show? No, it can't be it. I'll talk about it. Whatever. I'll do the segment. Yeah, I just watched a Hope Solo. This is a soccer segment, everybody. Just watched a Hope Solo documentary on Netflix. For those of you who are unfamiliar, was the keeper for the United States women's team for like my whole childhood was just Hope Solo. 2017, I'm sorry, the 2007 World Cup to the 2015 World Cup for women, and then all the Olympics in between. She was the best keeper in the world. There's a world where she was like, there's an argument to be made, like men and women, she was the best. She was the gold standard for the position. My entire life, I knew that was true. I grew up my entire life being like, you can talk about Alex Morgan, and you can talk about Mia Hamm, and you can talk about whoever, Brianna, what's her name? The other keeper before her. Why can't I not remember her name? You can talk about Alex Morgan, you can talk about Abby Wambach, you can talk about Megan Rapinoe, you can talk about all these women if you want. But it is Hope Solo, right? Like a woman who truly is bigger than the sport itself, which is something that they say in the documentary. And I said to Maddie, I was like, that's exactly the way that I viewed her. Is a lot like Caitlin Clark in that way, where it's like, you are so much bigger than the way that people even perceive the sport. To me, she was it. And the way that Maddie and I have remembered why she got like ostracized from soccer was because she caught a domestic violence charge. The way that, and we would have put our hands on Bibles, and we would have, on anything in the world, we would have sworn that this was what happened, that she put hands on a significant other, like a boyfriend or a husband. We knew for a fact that's what happened. We didn't, like, whatever, it happens. But, like, we were like, that's what happened. That's not what fucking happened at all. It's not what happened at all. She got into a fight with, like, her family? With, like, a nephew and, like, a half-sister or a sister? You know, some punches got thrown and some people got slammed around. That's it. Cops got called. She got charged with 2 cases of domestic violence. What the fuck? What? Listen, I'm not here to, like, litigate domestic violence, but I'm very fortunate that I did not come from a physical family. No, there were no, like, altercations that ever happened. I've seen it happen to other families, though. And, like, it's different. It's like, it just is different to me. Right or wrong. I don't know. Like, so she beat up a guy who was 6'9", 350 pounds. Okay. That's fine. And then the cops came, and she was like, you're a little ass. They put her in handcuffs, and she's like, you only put me in cuffs because you know if these were off, I'd beat your ass. You look like a 14-year-old little boy. Something they failed to mention in the documentary was the exchange between her and the police officer. But I did my independent investigation after the fact. After I was like, no, I swear she hit like a boyfriend or something. No, she didn't. Yeah, even that, I'm kind of like, oh no, she verbally accosted a cop. Okay, even then, it's like, yeah, okay, so you got into a fight with your family, which is just a different thing to me. Right, again, right or wrong, it's just kind of a thing that happens with some people, and it really sucks, but especially when you contextualize her upbringing, it kind of just is like, yeah, it makes sense. The other piece of it was she was just trying to advocate for, like, equal pay, which is, you talk about the W all you want, and they should get paid more, but, like, the women's soccer team it's so crazy that really is the gold standard of soccer in the United States is the women's team. But the men are the ones that make all the money. They don't win anything ever. They don't win qualifiers. They don't win fucking CONCACAF. They don't get out of the group stage in the World Cup. And if they do get out of the group stage in the World Cup, they lose to fucking Albania, or not Albania. They lose to Ghana. Meanwhile, the women have won, 4 World Cups? 3 World Cups? They haven't had that many. They won the first one in 1991, and then they won the second one in 1995. And then they won again in 1999. Whoops. And then they didn't win for like 16 years, and they won they beat Japan. I remember watching that live, too. Kicked the shit out of Japan. Wasn't even close. They were up 4-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game. Another thing they showed in the documentary, and I was like, hell yes, I remember this so vividly. It was so sick. That was Hope Solo's last game. That was it. Or that's not true. The following year, they played in the Olympics. And then this was the other thing. They lost Sweden to their old coach. And after the game, Hope Solo was like, the better team did not win. And Sweden are a bunch of cowards. Because they were playing like Chelsea did this last year. Where they just play in their own half. And they play keep away. And it's such a boring brand of the game. And it's not interesting to watch. Does it work? Yeah, it works. But like, whatever. You guys are being babies. And Hope Solo was like, they were fucking cowards and they stunk and they didn't deserve to win. That was the last she got. Her contract was terminated. She never played again. Whoa. Now, look, it's a sort of a one-sided documentary. You only hear one side of the story because every single member of those women's teams, every single member of like the governing body of United States Soccer, like the federation, everybody, people from the 99 team or from the 03 team, all of these women, the 07 team, all of these women refused to participate in this Hope Solo documentary. So you can say like, well, it's only one side of the story. Yeah, but it is interesting to me that if everybody else that's involved in this refuses to participate in the actual narrative storytelling of this, what does that say about maybe who's making a point here and maybe who is trying to act like something didn't happen? She got mean girled. Is what happened. She was like the bad girl of soccer, and she just like said crazy shit all the time, and she was wild, but she was the best at her position in the entire world and defined the way that people played it. And like, I don't know, she was outspoken, and I'm not trying to sound like a dork here, but like, dude, Erling Haaland, like less than a year ago, who was it against Arsenal? Mikel Arteta. He was like, hey, stay humble, huh? Stay humble, huh? Everybody gave him shit for that. Imagine if he got kicked out of the fucking Premier League because of that. Imagine that. But like, no, he didn't. You can be like, and then also I forgot to mention Hope Solo also had a DUI and got charged with child endangerment. But that did happen. That's true. There's literally no defending that. She was fucked up, and she wasn't even driving the car. She was just in a parking lot asleep, and I think her kids were in the back seat. And can't do that. You just can't do that. And she owned it. She's like, can't do that. Yep, can't do that. Sucks. Stinks. But even then, I'm kind of like, and there's no but to that, but there is, because it's like, again, not to sound like a fucking dork, but like, this whole like separating the art from the artist thing. Like, yeah, Miles Bridges can rap like a motherfucker, so he can put hands on a woman. You know what I mean? Tyreek Hill is fast as fuck and is like was the best receiver in the NFL for like a half decade. So he can strangle a woman, right? I don't want to use the example I was about to use, but like, I don't know, like all of these guys get second chances, and then it's easy for us to sort of remove ourselves from like what their incident actually was because they're so good at their respective sport. But with Hope Solo, it was different. And then also I thought was interesting is it did shine a really interesting light on the interpersonal relationships that women have with each other versus the ones that men have with each other. Because even a guy like, I don't want to say it, but even a guy like Derrick Rose, where like you did something definitely happened, or any player who has ever had a case similar to that, men, specifically men of the same, like, it's different when it's a guy like you and me and we're fucking nobody, it doesn't matter. But like when these guys' peers will still come to their defense, right? They will still be there for them. They'll rally around them and they'll be like, let's get through this, right? But like when Hope Solo is going through some shit, all of these women she was an outcast. They ostracized her and they wanted nothing to do with her because the competition is so fierce, right? Where with them, it's like, hey, Hope, we are already fighting for our fucking lives, for people to actually respect us and for people to actually watch us, even though the viewership for the women's teams has always been better than it has been for the men's, because they are the gold standard. Like, it's like the level of, if you don't win a gold or a World Cup or whatever it is in women's soccer is the same as it is for like men's basketball in the United States, where unless you win the damn thing, everybody will fucking hate you and everybody will say you stink and that it was a failure because the bar is just so high, right? So I don't know. It's like, okay, Hope, they're still not paying us and blah, 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 and they still don't respect us again, despite us being the best. So like when you continue to give us this quote unquote bad rap, you just reflect poorly on all of us and you just bring us all down. I mean, that's, I guess, maybe one way to look at it. And you could make the argument that that's what happens in the W with Caitlin Clark, where like Kelsey Plume and Sabrina Ionescu are just being huge fucking brats about this whole thing. Oh yeah. You know, when we organized to wear these pay us what you owe us shirts, right before the All-Star game, you know, not to be a tattletale, but Caitlin wasn't there and neither was her representation. So not to be a tattletale, but you fucking are, right? There's not like no reason why she brought that up. There's not no reason why she brought that up. And there's not no reason why these women will just like elbow Caitlin Clark in the back of the fucking head when the game's not even live. I don't know. It's just, it's such a different level of competition. And it's impossible for a guy like me to describe. Maddie and I basically said all of this to her and she was like, yeah, pretty much. But I had more soccer stuff to talk about. Oh, how about this? What the fuck? Donnarumma might transfer to City? Huh? I'm telling you something right now. That's my favorite keeper in the world. And if he goes to City, which would be shocking, I guess his representatives are like, no, we're not renegotiating with PSG. You won the Champions League. I'm assuming they won their league title. Nope. He's got a year left on his deal. Nope. He might move to City. If that happens, I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing it. He's my favorite keeper. If he goes to City, I'm doing it. It's happening. Get ready, because it's going to happen. But at the same time, some conflict. I don't know. Ederson doesn't want to leave, but you see some reports that he might get sold and that the guy, I don't remember who his backup is off the top of my head, that he might be the guy. I don't know. It's and then this fucking, what is this about? Rashford? Rashford's at Barcelona? Huh? I'm confused about how that whole thing played out. I wake up one day and I had no idea this was going to happen. It's really hard for me to keep up with transfer news because it just doesn't come across my desk. I have to go so far out of my way to find out about this stuff. So please, if anybody has like a good way for me to like keep up on this stuff, like learning about what the fuck is Kevin De Bruyne doing at Napoli? How did that happen? What did that happen? I learned 3 days ago that the Chicago Fire tried to sign De Bruyne in May. How did I not? It was 2.5 months ago. How did I not see that was a thing? He's at Napoli now? Modric is it Milan? Is that where he went? What's going on? What's going on? What is Rashford doing at Barcelona? How did this happen? He got sold to Villa in like January. I swear to God, he was on loan, wasn't he? They had a buy option. So they just, burnt the contract up? And they said, go ahead and go to Barcelona. What the fuck is he doing at Barcelona? They have damn Yamal. They have Rafinha. They have Lewandowski. Who's another one off the top of my head? I can see his face. I can't think of his name. So what? Rashford sucked in training at United and they gave up on him. And they sold him to Villa so that he could sit on the bench there. Actually played pretty well, specifically in the Champions League. I remember there was a game or two. It was like, whoa, there's Rashford. And then now he's going to Barcelona to sit on the bench some more? For why? Why? He doesn't stink. Look, I like to make fun of him. He's not a bad player. He does not actually stink. But a move like this, I don't get. I'm puzzled. I'm perplexed. Doesn't make much sense to me. Is there anything going on? I looked up Jamie Vardy transfer news like a week ago. I know he wants to stay in the Premier League, but I haven't seen anything on that. It's so hard to keep up with. The guys just kind of like go places and you're like, oh. He's that guy that's Isaac. How do you say his name? The Newcastle guy who wants to get sold. Magpies. He's like, I want to leave. I want to go somewhere else. Beyond me. I don't know. It's really hard for me to keep up with this stuff. What else was there? Was there any other news? I think there was maybe another guy or two that I wanted to talk about. I don't know. Spotify. I don't know if I have any questions for you guys. I don't. I'm sorry. I really don't. I'm going to be honest with you, Spotify. I've had to poop for like 30 minutes. It's going to happen. And I'm really sorry, Spotify. I'm so sorry, Spotify, but it's going to happen. So I love you guys. Apple Podcasts. What's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.